Lalita and the strength of her heart. In a small, quiet town, there lived a girl named Lalita. She had a name that sounded like poetry, but her life felt far from beautiful. Lalita's home was cold, not because of the weather, but because there was no warmth in her family. Her parents were often too busy or too tired to notice her, and when they did, their words were sharp and heavy, like stones. Lalita had no one to hug her when she was sad, no one to cheer her on when she did something well. Most nights, she lay in her small bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what it would feel like to be truly loved. But Lalita was a girl with a fierce heart. Even though her world felt lonely, she believed deep down that life could be better, that she could build a life full of warmth, even if she had to create it herself. One cold winter morning, Lalita was walking home from school when she saw a small sparrow lying in the snow. Its tiny body was trembling and its wing was bent at an odd angle. Lalita knelt down and gently scooped the bird into her hands. It was so fragile, its heartbeat fluttering like the pages of a book. "You'll be okay," she whispered. "I'll take care of you." She brought the bird home and made a little nest out of an old scarf. She fed it crumbs and water and sang to it softly when the nights grew cold. Day by day, the sparrow grew stronger. Lalita felt a strange warmth in her chest every time it chirped or looked at her with its bright eyes. One morning, the sparrow's wing was strong enough to fly again. Lalita carried it outside, her hands trembling a little. She didn't want to say goodbye, but she knew it was the right thing to do. "Go on," she whispered, her voice soft. The sparrow hopped to the edge of her hands, paused for a moment, and then flew into the sky. As Lalita watched it disappear into the clouds, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, a quiet sense of pride. She had given the sparrow the love and care it needed, even when no one had done the same for her. And in doing so, she realized something important. She had the power to create love, even in the coldest of places. From that day on, Lalita decided she wouldn't wait for others to bring warmth into her life. She would create it herself. She started small, making her room a place that felt safe and cozy. She found an old lamp at a market and set it on her desk, its golden glow chasing away the shadows. She hung up pictures of the sky, flowers, and stars, things that made her feel alive. Lalita also began writing. At first, her stories were sad, filled with lonely characters searching for a home. But as she wrote, something shifted. Her characters started finding hope in unexpected places, friendships, acts of kindness, and the strength within themselves. Slowly, Lalita began to see those same things in her own life. Though her parents remained distant, Lalita started to notice the people around her who cared in small but meaningful ways. There was her teacher, Mrs. Anjali, who always smiled and asked how she was doing. There was the shopkeeper who slipped an extra sweet into her bag when she bought groceries. There was the elderly neighbor, Mr. Raymond, who loved to tell her stories about his childhood and listened intently when she shared hers. Bit by bit, Lalita realized that family didn't have to mean the people you were born to. It could be the people who showed you kindness, the ones who made you feel seen. But Lalita's greatest strength came from within. She learned to be the parent she had always wished for. When she felt sad, she spoke to herself kindly, like a loving mother would. "It's okay to feel this way," she would whisper. When she accomplished something, even something small, she celebrated herself, saying, "I'm so proud of you." She taught herself to cook simple meals, sew her own clothes, and save her money for the things she loved most: books and notebooks for her stories. With every new skill she learned, she grew stronger, more independent, and more confident. Years passed, and Lalita grew into a young woman. She became an author, just as she had always dreamed, writing stories about hope, resilience, and love. Her books were filled with characters who found strength in themselves, just as she had. Her home was no longer cold. It was a place filled with light and warmth, a place where laughter echoed and stories unfolded. Lalita had built a family of friends, neighbors, and even readers who saw her as someone who brought magic into their lives. And though her parents never changed, Lalita had forgiven them in her heart. She understood now that not everyone knew how to give love, but that didn't mean she couldn't create it for herself. One evening, as Lalita sat by her window, watching the sunset, she thought back to the little sparrow she had saved so many years ago. She smiled, realizing that just like the sparrow, she had found her wings. She had taken the love she had always longed for and learned to give it to herself, and in doing so, she had created a life filled with light, warmth, and endless possibilities. And so, Lalita's story became one of quiet courage, a reminder that even in the coldest places, the heart can create a fire that never fades. Good night, and may your heart always find its own warmth and strength.